Did you know that faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Yah? My goal is to bless you with the word. Listen to it while you're driving. Listen to it while you're walking along the way. Listen to it when you lay down at night. Listen to the word. Genesis chapters 15 through 17. Sometime later, the word of Yahweh came to Abram in a vision. Don't be afraid, Abram. I'm your protector. Your reward will be great. Abram replied, Yahweh, power. What good will your gifts be to me if I continue childless and Eliezer from Damascus inherits my possessions? You haven't given me a child, Abram continued, so someone born in my house will be my heir. But the word of Yahweh came to him. This man will not be your heir. No, your heir will be a child from your own body. Then he brought him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars. If you can count them, your descendants will be that many. He believed in Yahweh, and he credited it to him as righteousness. Then he said to him, I am Yahweh who brought you out from Kasdim to give you this land as your possession. He replied, Yahweh, our power, how am I to know that I will possess it? He answered him, bring me a 3-year-old cow, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a dove, and a young pigeon. He brought him all these, cut the animals in two, and placed the pieces opposite each other, but he didn't cut the birds in half. Birds of prey swooped down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was about to set, a deep sleep fell on Abram. Horror and great darkness came over him. Yahweh said to Abram, know this for certain, your descendants will be foreigners in a land that is not theirs. They will be slaves and held in oppression there 400 years. But I will also judge that nation, the one that makes them slaves. Afterwards, they will leave with many possessions. As for you, you will join your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. Only in the 4th generation will your descendants come back here, because only then will the Emorite be ripe for punishment. After the sun had set and there was thick darkness, a smoking firepot and a flaming torch appeared, which passed between these animal parts. That day Yahweh made a covenant with Abram. I have given this land to your descendants, from the Vadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates River. The territory of the Kenai, the Kenizzai, the Kadmonai, the Hittite, the Perizzai, the Rephaim, the Emori, the Canaanite, the Girgashite, and the Yebusai. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had not borne him a child, but she had an Egyptian slave girl named Hagar. So Sarai said to Abram, Here now, Yahweh has kept me from having children, so go in and sleep with my slave girl. Maybe I'll be able to have children through her. Abram listened to what Sarai said. It was after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan that Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar the Egyptian, her slave girl, and gave her to Abram, her husband, to be his wife. Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she conceived. But when she became aware that she was pregnant, she looked on her mistress with contempt. Sarai said to Abram, This outrage being done to me is your fault. True, I gave my slave girl to you to sleep with, but when she saw that she was pregnant, she began holding me in contempt. May Yahweh decide who is right, I or you. However, Abram answered Sarai, Look, she's your slave girl. Deal with her as you think fit. Then Sarai treated her so harshly that she ran away from her. The angel of Yahweh found her by a spring in the desert, the spring on the road to Shur, and said, Hagar, Sarai's slave girl, where have you come from, and where are you going? She answered, I'm running away from my mistress Sarai. The angel of Yahweh said to her, Go back to your mistress and submit to her authority. The angel of Yahweh said to her, I will greatly increase your descendants. There will be so many that it will be impossible to count them. The angel of Yahweh said to her, Look, you are pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You are to call him Yishmael. God pays attention, because Yahweh has paid attention to your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man, with his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, living his life at odds with all his kinsmen. So she named Yahweh, who had spoken with her, El Roi, God of seeing. because she said, "Have I really seen the one who sees me and stayed alive?" This is why the well has been called Be'er Lakai Roi, well of the one who lives and sees. It lies between Kadesh and Bered. Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the son whom Hagar had borne Yishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Yishmael to Abram. When Abram was 99 years old, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said to him, "I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Walk in my presence and be pure-hearted. I will make my covenant between me and you, and I will increase your numbers greatly." Abram fell on his face, and our power continued speaking with him. "As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram, exalted father, but your name will be Abraham, father of many, because I have made you the father of many nations. I will cause you to be very fruitful. I will make nations of you. Kings will descend from you. I am establishing my covenant between me and you, along with your descendants after you, generation after generation, as an everlasting covenant, to be a power for you and for your descendants after you. I will give you and your descendants after you the land in which you are now foreigners, all the land of Canaan as a permanent possession, and I will be their power." Our power said to Abram, "As for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation after generation. Here is my covenant which you are to keep between me and you, along with your descendants after you. Every male among you is to be circumcised. You are to be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. This will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Generation after generation, every male among you who is 8 days old is to be circumcised, including slaves born within your household and those bought from a foreigner not descended from you. The slave born in your house and the person bought with your money must be circumcised. Thus my covenant will be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. Any uncircumcised male who will not let himself be circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that person will be cut off from his people, because he has broken my covenant." Our power said to Abram, "As for Sarai, your wife, you are not to call her Sarai, mockery. Her name is to be Sarah, princess. I will bless her. Moreover, I will give you a son by her. Truly I will bless her. She will be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples will come from her." At this, Abraham fell on his face and laughed. He thought to himself, "Will a child be born to a man 100 years old? Will Sarah give birth at 90? Abraham said to our power, "If only Ishmael could live in your presence." Our power answered, "No, but Sarah your wife will bear you a son, and you are to call him Yitzhak." Laughter. "I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him. But as for Ishmael, I have heard you. I have blessed him. I will make him fruitful and give him many descendants. He will father 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But I will establish my covenant with Yitzhak, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year." With that, our power finished speaking with Abraham and went up from him. Abraham took Ishmael, his son, all the slaves born in his house, and all who had been bought with his money, every male among the people in Abraham's household, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin that very day, just as our power had said to him. Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, and Ishmael, his son, was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. Abraham and Ishmael, his son, were circumcised on the same day, and all the men in his household, both slaves in his house and those bought with money from a foreigner, were circumcised with him.